5-minute penalty to Chicago, a game misconduct, and then Manson having words with Steven. And now Butcher gets into it. We're going to have a brawl, folks. Stand by.
What's up, everyone? Tyler Cash here. It's been some time. We took a little break over the holidays, but we're back with another episode of Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast, chilling in my apartment here in Paradise, Nevada. That's how you say it here with the eh. Chatting with my boy Tommy. How you doing, bud?
Good, yeah. Well rested after the holidays. Obviously, hockey's picking back up. Still curious to see what's going to happen in 2 weeks with that whole gap in the schedule for everybody. But as of right now, well, to be determined, I think, on the scheduling front. But doing good. Looking forward to All-Star game coming up, obviously. But the halfway point overall for the season, I think, for most teams. So definitely a lot of stuff to get into for sure. I know we did this 2 hours later than we originally wanted to, but reason being Chris Prionger, St. Louis Blue, retirement night, 44 is officially in the rafters. So pretty cool moment. Kind of funny, 3/4 of the way through his ceremony, he just pulls out a Bud Light and just
pulls out a beer, right?
Starts drinking it, and then finishes the ceremony and just chugs it, and then walks over for the banner raise, which I thought was pretty badass. But congrats to him. I was actually looking it up. It's kind of funny, that year he got drafted, 93. That was the year that Alexander Daigle guy went first overall. It was a complete bust. Then you have Pronger, Paul Correa, Rob Niedermeyer, Victor Kozlov, Jason Arnott, guys like these all behind him. And the Senators got fucking Alexander Daigle, who just,
I was going to ask, it's got to be a Canadian team, right? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, 100%. So
absolute legend. Yeah, that's rad. I think they were supposed to raise that raft up in the rafters last year, correct? And then
I think it's been going on 2 years now, actually. I think 2 years he knew it was happening, but they're oh yeah, we're gonna do it when we get fans back. Oh, we got fans back. Oh wait, no, we don't. And then it got delayed 2 years. Probably a weird feeling too, they should have been done years ago. But good for him. Obviously it kind of sucked, seeing what happened to him with the Flyers and that brutal eye injury that he had that pretty much ended his career. He probably had another, I think probably 5-6 years left in the tank. I think honestly, if he had that, I think easily you probably put him in the top 5 of defensemen all time, but bad injury, cut his career short. But the Whaler, Blue, Oilers, Duck, Flyer legend, Chris Pronger.
He probably would have added another cup to his resume, yeah?
I probably would think so. If not, have a good run at 1 or 2 more, I would think so.
So I'm ignorant to this. What was the injury? Did it happen during a game or something? Was
he got a puck to the eye.
Oof.
Yeah, and then he couldn't differentiate between one eye. He'd be able to see something, but one eye would see it completely different than the other eye. And he was pretty gnarly. At that point, if you can't determine where the puck is or where someone is skating at you, whatever the case is, right? Good luck playing hockey at a pro level.
Well, and the surgeries didn't really exist back then like they do today, where you can correct, the problems with your eyes. I mean, I feel like LASIK is so common. You can get it done at 7-Eleven these days.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We're talking 10 years ago this happened. It's not ancient by any means, but
yeah, it's
just, I don't think it's something that really could have been repaired.
Okay.
Honestly. So I think he's just kind of deals with it to a degree. I could be wrong.
Either way, hell of a career. And that's bad to see. Have the Ducks retired his number as well?
That's what's crazy. No. Ducks, I mean, to be fair, he played there for 3 years, right?
Right. But he won a cup with the team and he was a pretty driving force for that cup run.
I agree. Yeah.
That's a little strange.
Yeah. I kind of always wondered that too, but
So officially Blues legend. I mean, it's written
Officially
in
Blues
stone.
legend. Yeah,
That should be
confirms.
that should be a rule that if you retire the number first, it's like you trumped everybody when it comes to legend status when with your team.
100%.
I know that the Blues fans in St. Louis love him. I would imagine he's got something going on in that for the company, right? For the team. Does he work for the team these days, or is he just a presence and with the culture?
Pretty sure he's just an alumni. Like,
Okay.
yeah, that's pretty much it. Still lives in St. Louis. Like, whole family lives here. I think that's really pretty much it. I know him and his like wife are doing some like try to set it up, or they're in the process of like working through like getting their like I think it's called like well inspired travels on Instagram, like sort of like a bougie kind of like travel agent type thing. So he's got some stuff going on. Obviously, he's got some kids coming up. I don't think any of them are doing anything yet with hockey, like at least in terms of like pro stuff. But yeah, I know he has a couple of kids coming up who potentially could be something down the line. We'll see.
Cool.
But
But yeah, either
good for
way,
him.
congratulations, Pronger on an excellent career. Obviously, a Stanley Cup winner, St. Louis Blues legend confirmed. What's up, everyone? Tyler Cash here from the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast, interrupting this week's episode to talk about one of our amazing sponsors, Schlafly Brewing Company. A staple in the St. Louis community for 30 years now, they have 4 different brew pubs located all over the metropolitan area, including downtown St. Louis, Maplewood, St. Charles, and most recently they opened a location in Highland, Illinois. From stouts and porters to lagers and IPAs, when it comes to delicious and refreshing beers, Schlafly has got you covered. Their Just a Bit Hazy IPA is an easy drinking IPA that will hit stores this February alongside their highly sought after Tasmanian IPA. If you know me, you know I enjoy a good dark beer, and their coffee stout is among some of the best I've ever tasted. If you're looking for something just a bit lighter though, their white lager is crisp and clean, as it's unfiltered and perfect for the domestic beer drinker that would like to transition to drinking more craft beers. You can download the Schlafly app on your phone to help locate and purchase their products all across the country. Be sure and follow them on Facebook and Instagram for constant new updates and information on all of their products. Schlafly beers are delicious and refreshing. Check them out. You won't regret it. As you said at the beginning of this podcast, we got the All-Star break coming up here in just a few weeks. Super excited about that myself. Actually, for numerous reasons. Also going to be competing in Barstool Sports Chicklets Cup,
Right.
a roller hockey tournament that we're doing here outside the Strat. It's going to be very exciting. They got the Danbury Trashers coming in. I know that Nasher is going to be here, the guy that does all the NHL streaming. It's going to be an exciting week. I'm really stoked. I mean, there's going to be tons of events, and I was able to go in St. Louis for the skills competition, which was kind of exciting, but instead I got like really drunk and then just wandered around trying to find Gritty. That was like my main thing. I really wanted to go to the actual game, so I'm excited to attend the game. Have you been to an All-Star game yet yourself?
No, I mean,
What?
I think
Really?
that's the thing though, right? I mean, if anything, the skills competition is cool, but the game, it's just like they really have nothing to play for, but 100 grand, each or whatever, which is nothing to sneeze at, but like you factor that in and like to be determined on players who opt out because of COVID or whatever injury or what have you. Like it's just something that hasn't really interested me over the years, quite honestly. Like if they made it in this situation where like you actually have something to play for to some degree, or like you make it a requirement for players to attend or whatever, like maybe, but
Yeah.
it's like you
No,
don't actually see all the stars, which is kind of lame.
it's exciting though. I find these things fun. You get a crock of chili going and some beers flowing, have some friends over and play some bets, just kind of like like you said, there's nothing on the table, but it's exciting to have all these guys under one roof potentially.
Yeah,
And with the whole scenario, I don't even believe we've had an episode since this has become official, but the fact that the players are no longer going to the Olympics, I think we were feeling like it was coming and it wasn't formally
yeah,
announced last time we all chatted about this, but Yeah, I think that this year is a little different. I'm surprised players weren't like boycotting it in a sense, like not going or putting their foot down. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's exciting, maybe in, the coming years, if we're having these issues with sending players to the Olympics still to maybe up the stakes, make it
Yeah.
after the season, like some sort of like Pro Bowl scenario. I don't know. Maybe they can
Uh,
figure out ways to make it more exciting.
I just feel like that makes a lot more sense because it's like you look at like the other really contact sport that there is out there, which is really football, at least in the major four, right? And like football does it like not after the season, but it's like the bye week before the cup final, or sorry, cup final, Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Mixing shit up
Yeah.
in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they do that, and then it's like physical sport. Granted, you're going maybe like 50% if you're in an all-star game. There's not going to be hitting or anything, mind you, but like again, there's really not a whole lot of incentive there. I feel like for anyone to really show up.
Just the one game suspension, right? So you would
Yeah,
have to forfeit a game, and for these big, all stars that are getting these big paychecks, that's not much money at all. It's not really affecting their bank account or probably the placement of their team. So there really isn't an incentive. You're right, but it's cool to see these guys that are just having awesome years that are maybe more so in that B tier instead of all star status. They get these opportunities.
yeah.
Um, and they get to prove it. I remember Perron was one of them. Whenever the All Star game was in St. Louis, he was having a hell of a year, and everyone was like, "Why isn't he in?" And you could do that last man in thing, which this is a good leeway actually. We could talk about the whole Nathan McKinnon opening his mouth and bitching about something again scenario with Kadri. I feel like this might be a scenario where you and I have opposing opinions on this because the word is they're mad. Well, I guess the quote, not directly from Nathan McKinnon in a post-game interview, was that it's bullshit that every team gets to send a player to the All-Star game and that it is an All-Star game and not a participation game. And he's basically saying these teams that suck ass don't deserve to send anybody. He was kind of pointing fingers at Clayton Keller and Jordan Emberley and players along that stature. I think Nick Suzuki from the Habs made it. He's got 7 goals on the year. Basically alluding that he thought his teammate Nazem Kadri, who's having just an insane year, needed to go. What is your stance on that?
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like the All-Star game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think like as far as my knowledge, like every sport does it that way. Like every team has a representative. Um,
Right, because you want to have diversity. You want to make sure that there's a reason for fans of all states to tune into this.
yeah, right. I mean, like think of it in a sense of like this would never happen, right? But like hypothetically, like, oh, the All-Star game is going to be hosted in Arizona, right? And like their team's in dead last right now, and like they get nobody. Like, what do you
Right.
what do you mean? Like, I mean, the point being, like, yeah, he's not wrong, but like you look at these teams, right? And like I would say if anything, like as bad as it is to say, because I feel like it's going backwards to where the All-Star game was extremely boring before, but it's like you have 3-on-3 rosters. Like it's shit's limited as it is. Like you have like what is it? What 9 people? So you have like what? Like the Central Division has
It's
one
11.
uh
I think each
yeah,
each team's gonna have 11, and they're gonna
right.
have
The
one
last man
added,
in.
the last man in. Yeah.
So like for example, the Central has 2 goalies, a defenseman, and probably looking at 8 forwards. Like that's it. But like
Right.
if you have a normal NHL roster, right? That's 20, if you look at it in the sense of like you break it up that way, it's like if you have a tournament like this, sort of smaller or even 4-on-4 or something, like you don't have these arguments, I think. But is that as exciting to watch? Probably not. Going to like a Western and Eastern thing, like really all that does, if you go back to 5-on-5 thing at that point, just screw the division thing, like all it adds is like 2 extra slots per side. Like that's what I'm saying. Like it just doesn't feel like you have these, like the thing of this doesn't make sense to me, right? Is like you have these great players like McKinnon and McCarr and like Kyra's breakout year and like stuff like this, right? But they can't play with Connor McDavid. They can't play with Leon Draisaitl. They can't play with Johnny Gaudreau. Like they're just segregated still, which is stupid. So like I just don't understand why you don't have these 4 captains and say fuck it. okay,
Yeah.
this division,
Draw sticks.
like overall, like overall, like last year this division had most points, second most, third most, last. Like we're picking in that order. Pick your team.
Yeah.
Done. Like how excited would that be? It's like, oh shit, Crosby and McDavid on a team. Like
Yeah.
that's wild. Or like, oh shit, Patrice Bergeron and Nathan McKinnon on a team, like shit like that like just isn't possible. Like why not? Like it's supposed to be an all-star game. Like it's all kind of supposed to be fun. Like why not make it a fantasy type draft? Like I think that'd be super cool.
It would be cool if even the fans got to vote and pick and kind of draft the teams. Like, so
Yeah,
it's not even
in a sense.
so that these players don't have to be the ones that pick, or dictate who plays on what team. That would be cool to add to it. Cause I mean, you're playing what, 15, 20-minute games, 3-on-3. So
Yeah, right.
it's not going to take that much time out of your schedule for the evening to have this additional fantasy draft game, even if it's, 5v5, two conferences against each other, whatever. I think it's always going to be segregated because they want to have a sense of pride and they want to be able to sell these jerseys and the t-shirts and kind of have bragging rights, I guess.
But like that's my point though, right? Like, you know, why not just generalize the merch like it pretty much already is, except
They're doing that now.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's only 2 jerseys, right? Or are there 4?
Yeah, so that was confusing as it was. We had to do this like math problem / science experiment, and literally at my work, we were trying to figure out in what scenario would the Pacific Conference even wear anything other than the blue jersey.
Yeah.
And there's no way that that would happen at all,
Right.
which there's some teams that would have to potentially change the color of their jersey if they win, because each side is going to have to wear dark and light,
Right.
dark and light. So if the Pacific wins and advances over the Central, they're still going to keep the blue jersey on. The only way that it would change is if the Central won, then they would wear blue to represent the Western Conference versus the East. They haven't done this setup since 2011. I went back and looked at that whenever the jerseys leaked, which I think they're great, by the way. I love how simplistic it is. I think that adding the logo to the front and kind of trying to like church it up with the glitter and making it something different was just weird. I think the NHL logo goes with what you're saying. Have it be more united. Have it be more of promoting the sport and these superstars as a whole. But yeah, I'm trailing off a little bit. But yeah, I agree. I think the way to solve it would be East versus West and not the conferences, because then you get a little bit more diversity amongst these players. Other than that, like you said, you'd have to completely strip it down and start all over. But what's wrong with that? I mean, this is already not orthodox as it is. We're trying to grow the sport with some exciting things. Why not change it up?
But again, like that's my point, right? When it comes to merch, like, if you're gonna have your captains, like again, like what, Ovechkin, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, like those are probably your top 4 or 5 selling jerseys as it is. Like you already know that going in, like, cool. We have to make stuff on the fly for everyone else that gets picked. But like, that's what I'm saying. You could like easily pick this like 3 weeks in advance and like, okay, shitty situation if someone wants to be a dick and be like, oh, I'm not going. Like, okay, just replace them. And like, it is what it is. It doesn't matter anyway, but just like, it's just stuff like that. It just makes more sense. It creates more excitement, creates these fantasy scenarios that all of these armchair GMs out there make in NHL anyway, where they trade Connor McDavid for, whoever, and you stack this line and cool. I have this crazy line, of Crosby, Draisaitl, McDavid, like something stupid, right? Like even though they technically doesn't make sense because 2 of those are centers, but
it changes things up. It makes it a little bit more exciting,
right? Because like I said, you'll never see a Crosby and McDavid on a team. You'll never see like Nathan McKinnon and Austin Matthews on a team probably, but like this creates that opportunity where it's like, whoa, these guys could play together. Like this is cool. Like what if, it just creates a whole other dynamic to it. Like you said, I think it's a combination of like fan voting along with like, like players having input on like deciding their teams, like, going to a schoolyard and like kickball and being like, okay, I want this guy. Okay, you take that.
Yeah,
I want them to
draw sticks.
Yeah.
Let's literally do schoolyard puck rules. Let's change it up. Let's get these guys having no idea who they're going to be playing with. And it's like you said, there's no contact, there's nothing to fight for, so it's just fun, anyways.
Right. And that's what I mean. If the only thing that anyone has to play for, anyways, is what, like the million or 1.2 million that's split between everyone, so everyone gets 100K. Like, wouldn't
Yeah,
that be exciting? Like, oh, cool, we're the fucking underdogs. Like, let's take it to these, stars. Like, fuck them. You know what I mean? Like,
the money that you're gonna spend that weekend in Vegas is what you
yeah,
win.
right. Yeah, right. So
Right.
it's just like, I mean,
Junk change.
I think it'd be cool. Like, even if it's a situation where you end up with like, just thinking of like the World Cup of hockey, right? Like
Right.
Canada, Team North America, all the young guys, like even figure out a way to do something like that, since the World Cup of hockey probably isn't happening ever again, in my opinion.
Yeah, they
Um,
should. They'd be stupid not to.
I just don't think it's going to happen with it being off season. I think that's the problem with it.
Yeah,
Because you're
the
actually
players
competing in a sense.
the players want their downtime, and
Yeah.
that's the thing too with this is the players want this 3 weeks off, especially
Right.
without the Olympics happening anymore. They want to be able to go on a vacation. They want to be able to spend time with their families, so they don't really want to do jump through hoops and entertain the fans of the league. Um, but yeah, I mean, going back to what McKinnon had said, I think the only logical thing for a captain to do is to put his foot down and say, I'm not going. Instead of bitching about it, like being like, hey, this isn't right. Like, I'm not the one that deserves to go. I've been before. I would like Kadri to go, and he steps down. And here's the thing: when they do step down, the team just kind of selects somebody. It's not put
Yeah.
up to a
Right.
vote. Like when Fleury stepped down because he was afraid of getting injured. I believe it was for St. Louis, the 2019, the last time we had an All-Star game. The Golden Knights just elected Max Pacioretty. There
Yeah.
wasn't like a vote. They were just
Right.
like, oh yeah. So like, if Nathan McKinnon is that intense about it and that passionate about Nazem Kadri going over him and doesn't understand that people don't want to see Nazem Kadri. They want to see Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon represent the Avalanche. If he's that naive, then yeah, step down, dude. Do the captain move. Let him go.
Well, like that's the funny thing. Didn't he open his mouth before the last man in vote? Like I'm pretty sure he did, and correct me if I'm wrong. And it's
Yeah.
like you compare, like to be fair, like as much as I'd love to see Robert Thomas, voted in as last man in, right? You look at this stuff, right?
I think he
It's like
deserves it. I want him to go. That would be awesome.
like it'd be cool, right? But it's like you look at this, like, oh, Kessel has 26 points. Oh, Seth Jones, like as shitty as the Blackhawks have been, like he's put up 25 points. Like that's respectable, right? Like these guys have 30 points, 40 points from Roman Yossi as a defenseman, which is impressive. Then you have Nazem Kadri with 49 points, like a plus
Yeah.
14. Like even just looking at paper, like I would be very surprised if he doesn't get in. Granted, what they have the whole Senators, Flames, Blues playing the whole Robert Thomas, and then the homeboys, St. Louis boys, Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk. Everyone vote those three.
Right.
And
They got each
then
other's backs.
see
But
what happens.
dude, Robert
But
Thomas has 30 assists, right? That's insane. I didn't even realize
I
that.
think 25, 30 points, but still.
Okay. Yeah, it's quiet. I mean, for somebody that hasn't really been putting the puck in the net like we thought he would, and Cairo kind of shows up and becomes that guy,
Right.
which congratulations to him for making it. That's an amazing choice right there. But yeah, it's crazy to think that he's put up. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted, but 25 assists for that guy quietly is insane.
Yeah.
It's not near as crazy as Kadri, like you said. Kadri is probably going to be elected as the last man in, and Nathan McKinnon can stop crying. But at the same time, I don't know. I just think it wasn't a very classy move, as far as I'm concerned. I think that making a big deal out of it was weird too. As you said, these players kind of want their time off. But it's gonna be interesting, and I think this is a good leeway. I think we should talk about the players that were elected into each division, and let's talk about who we think got snubbed. I think that would be a good start. We'll go ahead and start in the Atlantic. It looks like Drake Batherson from the Senators, which I said that confused. I don't. I got to be honest with you. I don't know who that guy is. Is he having himself a year? Is he a young kid, or what's his story with him?
Yeah, I mean, he had his like first full season last year. I mean, he's putting up over a point per game, 10 goals, 20 assists on my fantasy team.
Okay.
In 26 games. I mean, he's doing good. I mean, compared to what the Senators really have, I guess, outside of Brady Tkachuk, who had the whole contract dispute, showed up a little, late to the party to start the season. But
Oh yeah.
I mean, really
Didn't even
outside
think
of
of
that. But then that's the other thing I was thinking of. It was other one that comes to mind, top of my head, is like, oh, Thomas Shabbat, but like he's had a terribly down offensive year. So like on paper, stats wise, like Matherson, sorry,
Atherton.
he's done better than Kachuk, so it makes sense. Thomas Shabbat's been very good defensively, in my opinion, but like he hasn't had the points to back up going, I think. So I think it makes sense.
Then we got Patrice Bergeron from the Bruins. There's no, it's a little weird that it's not the Rat, that it's not Marchand.
It's his last year though, right?
Right. So, and it could very well be his last year. And it's why not, I guess, honor him in that sense? Okay. So, this is the question. Are these players, how are they voted in? Is it just picked by their team or
I think players around the league. I could be wrong, but I think
Okay,
players
so
around
it's
the
the
league.
league. So like the actual like
Yeah.
your peers. Okay, well then that makes it even more silly that he's bummed out that Kadri didn't make it because of course they don't want Kadri there if he's the one running. He's ran half the league, into the boards. It's like you don't really think Kadri when you're thinking superstar, but I don't know. No surprise with Bergeron, as you said, it's his last year, potentially as a Bruin, probably as it could be potentially as a player, right? He's like 38 years old.
Yeah, but like what's mind boggling to me is like, Marchand wasn't elected number one, but he's not even on a last man in vote. Like he has 43 points in 30 games. And he's not even on a last man in vote. Like it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I think that's submitted by the team though. Maybe he went like, I don't want to fucking go.
Yeah, it could be.
They probably went into the locker room and said, "Hey, who wants this?" And he was like, "Nah, dude. Like I want to have my time off. I've been before." Charlie McAvoy is a good backup solution. I don't think that he's going to be the last man in when it comes to that. What's his competition for the Atlantic for last man in?
I don't think it's too crazy. I mean, you have McAvoy, Tage Thompson, the rookie Lucas Raymond, who's been a really solid year.
He's with the Red Wings, right?
Yeah. Barkov of the Panthers, Tara Toffoli, Brady Kachuk. Then Steven Stamkos,
Yeah.
tough, and then John Tavares as well.
It's hard not to think Barkov is going to take that, though. I mean, with with the hell of a year that the Panthers are having, and they're going to want to have like a well, I guess fans. Here I am talking about this is fan voted, and they don't have fans, so probably not Barkov, right? I guess, and probably not Brady, considering the Senators don't have a crazy fan base either.
At least right now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could very well be McAvoy, and that wouldn't be half bad choice. And Tage Thompson is having a hell of a year too, but there's not very much of a fan base for the Sabres too, so that's crazy to think about with the Atlantic. Yeah, and Dahlin made it for the Sabres, which is like. It's interesting that it wasn't Tage Thompson to begin with, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been kind of a flub. Like he hasn't been.
It's all subjective, right? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's subjective, right? I mean, you look at the Sabres, and what do they have on paper? Like Tage Thompson's had years to get it together and hasn't. Dahlin, granted, he's on a bad team. So of course, like stats, at least a plus minus on paper is always going to look really bad when you're playing top minutes. But I mean, there's not a whole lot to choose from there. So
listen up, goons. Gotta interrupt the podcast to talk about another one of our amazing sponsors, Shortside Co., a hockey apparel and accessory company. Established in 2020, Shortside is a Minnesota-based company with all four owners having a combined 25 years of professional hockey experience. All of their tape is made in the USA, tested and certified by NHL players, including Nate Schmidt. We had him on the podcast, so if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and check it out. He's a beauty. All of their products are created by players, for players. Going shortside is a lifestyle. But why go shortside? Well, scoring goals is their passion. There are many variables that come into play in order to score a goal high on the short side, but it all starts with a perfectly executed tape job. After scoring goals in every league from mites to the NHL, they are confident that their product will be a staple in any locker room. For individuals and organizations looking to join the Shortside community, go to www.goshortside.com.
So Hedman made it for the Lightning. That's a pretty obvious choice. Also Vasilevsky, another obvious choice. So the defense and the goaltending is going to be great in the Atlantic, but that's about it. You have Larkin, Huberdeau, Matthews is going to be exciting. Nick Suzuki, like I said, they just don't really have anybody else to send from the Habs. And he's like the guy that they're trying to get their fans excited about, which 7 goals at $7.5 million. Granted, I don't think that contract is kicked in yet, that extension.
Right.
but still, that's not anything all-star written on it as far as I'm concerned. So that could be one of those things where we go back, and I agree slightly with McKinnon that it does suck when there's guys putting up 48 points in the league. Meanwhile, there's teams sending guys that have 11, 12 probably at this point, I would assume. That's me kind of spitballing. Moving on, let's move on to the Metropolitan. Sebastian Aho, that's great. Canes are having a hell of a year. That makes sense. Freddie Anderson with the Hurricanes. Who would have thought that was going to happen? I mean,
no kidding.
He was shipped out of Toronto. Didn't really look like the guy they needed him to be. And then he shows up to the Hurricanes, which, correct me if I'm wrong, they were the team that initially drafted him. And he said, nah, right? He pulled a Lindros and was like, I don't want to play for your team. So that's crazy that it went full circle and he wound up back on the Hurricanes while they're a force to be reckoned with. And he's just, arguably playing just as good as Jack Campbell, which is nuts. Adam Fox with the Rangers, stud. I mean, that was an obvious choice, even though the Rangers have Panarin, which I'm sure he's in the last man in competition for the opportunity to join him. Giroux with the Flyers, right? I mean, who do they have? I mean, I guess Konechny, but I don't even know that he's having himself as good of a year as he did last year. And I think Konechny, did he go in 2019? That sounds familiar.
I genuinely couldn't tell you.
Man, it seems like yesterday and also 3 years ago at the same time.
No, my thought too, though, is I think, correct me if I could be wrong on it too. Maybe it was Voracek because now he's on the Blue Jackets. I could be wrong.
Let's look. Let's look this up. Fucking classic Google scenario here.
No kidding. Let's see. 2019 All-Star Game rosters. I mean, this could potentially not have the people who have opted out. It was Giroux. 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. I wonder. I don't know why I thought Konechny, but I had him in fantasy that year, and he was doing great as well. So, okay. So Tristan Yari, is it Yari or Jari? Do I always say his name right or wrong?
Tristan Yari.
Yari. Okay. I also, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Statman, but I'm pretty sure he has the best stats goaltending wise in the entire league.
He is kicking ass. Last I checked too. I think you are correct.
That's insane. And one of the other things that who would have guessed, right?
Yeah, especially after the playoffs.
He's got to be doing great to pick him over Crosby, because it's like, Crosby is the face of the franchise still, no matter if he's not a point per game player or not. Interesting.
I mean, to be fair, if you look at the stats right now, Charlie Lindgren, Blues legend, is still top of goals against. But I mean, we factor in, I guess, he doesn't necessarily, I don't think he's absolute tops, but you have like Shesterkin of the Rangers. And then it's kind of like following that, it's like Tristan Yari, Jack Campbell. Like those are the top three right now, all in the East.
Chris Kreider from the Rangers. That was a little interesting for me because Adam Fox was a pretty obvious choice. And it's really weird to not see Panarin be the next guess, the next pick, or Zibanejad, Ryan Reeves, you name it. I mean, I don't know. There's so many different choices here. It's weird to see Kreider's name personally.
No. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting as well. I mean, again, I'm really curious how these guys are voted in, quite honestly, because it makes me wonder.
It's got to be within the teams. Like you said, like a poll amongst the league that decides whether or not these players go, kind of like how they do for Vezina votes, but for instead of it being media, it's amongst the players. I mean, that would make the most sense.
It could be. I mean, to be fair, I mean, Kreider's got 35 points, 39 games. And this was interesting. I think it makes sense, rightfully so. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Panarin's always been kind of like the guy putting up goals, right?
Right.
He's only got 10 this season. Kreider's got 24.
Oh shit. Okay. So in a scenario like that, they did kind of go with the guy that was having a hotter season.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it should be, right? It shouldn't be your name, Right.
I think it would have been different if McKinnon wasn't the captain of his division. Like that's one thing. It's like you have to go represent your team. As awkward as that is. Alexander Ovechkin, obvious. I'm hearing that
will he go?
I mean, if he makes it, that'll be exciting. I mean,
he's the captain too, which would be really fucked if he doesn't go. I feel like
I don't know that he's the kind of guy that would opt out. Has he opted out in the
he's
past?
always opted out. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. Well, maybe this is the year that he changes that. Alex Ovechkin takes on the strip. I don't know.
I mean, that's where he won the cup, right?
Yeah, maybe he wants to go back and visit that special time in his life. Adam Pelech, Zach Werenski. Yeah, I mean, Islanders are having a shit season. It's kind of like draw names who wants to go kind of thing. Right. And the Blue Jackets, same. Werenski's still that top tier face for that franchise, so there's no surprise there. Yeah, I mean, out of those, everything sounds about right. There was a few of those that we felt were a little weird. The Dahlin selection was one that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Yeah. And and the fact that Marchand was snubbed is kind of interesting, and also snubbed from the last man in as well. So yeah, you want to talk about the Central?
Yeah, I mean Central. Yeah, I thought it was funny too. Coyotes, Phil Kessel. Didn't see that one coming, if I'm being honest. Probably for a lot of reasons, but
well, he didn't make it in, right? He's the last man in.
Oh no, he's in,
no,
is he not? Oh, Clayton, sorry,
Clayton Keller.
You're right. Sorry,
St. Louis boy.
Looking at the wrong list. Apologies. Yeah. So him even as last man.
Well, who else are they going to fucking pick? They got rid of everybody. They traded everybody.
I mean, to be like, I don't know, dude. Like, it's just one of those things I think about. It's just like, there's got to be someone else, right? I mean,
I don't know. They got.
I mean, you could put Gostis beer. I mean, he's had 24 points. I mean, I don't know.
They picked him up on like a roll of the dice, though, right? Like he was.
I mean, either way, come on.
Was his contract terminated from the Flyers?
They traded for him, I believe.
Oh, okay.
I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah. So why don't you lead off from the Central?
Yeah. So obviously, St. Louis boy, Clayton Keller. I mean, again, outside of that, who really are you going to pick? Kyle Connor of the Jets. Makes sense. I probably would have gone with Nikolai Ehlers, but he's kind of had injuries, COVID, all sorts of things going on. But from there, Alex DeBrincat, always a strong forward there for the Blackhawks. Jordan Kyrou, the Blues, again, breakout year that he's kind of having, finally putting it all together.
He's a stud, man. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I didn't think he was going to evolve.
I don't think any of us did, quite honestly.
Into this kind of player. He used to piss me off. I remember when he first started playing, he would take dumb penalties, and he was just like kind of a disappointment right out the gate. And wow, he evolved into like just a stud. Like I said, he's just a beauty.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's something where I don't think everyone thought he was going to be good, but like the fact that he's as small as he is and be able to move around the ice and not get hit and get bodied and stuff, it's working for him, to say the least. Obviously the captain of the Central, Nathan McKinnon, Joe Pavelski of the Stars. Makes sense.
Love that. Even though this is probably going to be his last year as a Dallas Star. I mean, he could be traded shortly after that because the trade deadline is March 21st.
I think that's right. Yeah.
So it's about a month, give or take, after the All-Star game. And there's going to be a lot of games made up and a lot of back-to-backs. But yeah, that's going to be one of the last times you'll see Joe Pavelski potentially in a Dallas Stars uni.
Yeah. I mean, hang on. I mean, I feel like with the standings, though, as crazy it is to say, I could be wrong. They're not too far out.
They're in a wild card spot, I would assume.
I think they're pretty close. I could be wrong. So it's like, I mean, maybe he stays, maybe he doesn't. I mean,
if you're not for sure going to make the playoffs, you'd be dumb to not.
I mean, you're going
to get something for him. A team's going to want that veteran presence, especially with how great he's still able to perform. At least have that conversation with him, whether or not he can see him having a future with the team, which he probably wants to win a fucking cup. I mean,
probably.
He's going to want to go to a contender. Dude, that would be actually crazy to see Pavelski go to someone like the Pittsburgh Penguins. That would be crazy to kind of add more forward depth at, a cheaper cost and, kind of have that veteran presence to add to Malkin and Crosby. Bunch of old heads kind of knowing what they're doing and have been to the show before.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
No, agreed. Yeah, and speaking of it, yeah, Dallas, they're technically 6 points out of a playoff spot. However, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say realistically 2 because they have 5 games in hand on the Sharks, like
Oh
everyone
shit.
else does.
Yeah, but how many of those games are going to be rescheduled and be back to backs, and these guys are going to be grinding. They're not going to have
Either
that same
way,
advantage.
I mean, everyone's going to deal with that, right? Like it's not going to be
Right.
just them. So that's my take on it. Moving on from that, Kale McCarr, obviously rightfully so. Probably from an offensive standpoint, probably one of the best, probably the best defender in the Central, if not arguably up there in the league. I feel like goaltending wise, UC Saros, obviously taking over fully from Pecorine now, having a really good year. I think like just under 2.4 goals against, like 0.925, somewhere around there, save percentage. I'm very shocked that the Predators are where they are, quite honestly. I'm sure you could probably say the same at this point in the season.
How is it not Philip Forsberg though? Holy shit. That guy is insane. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I know he's up for a contract, but like
Right.
he is just performing like he hasn't aged at all. Like,
But then, yeah, I mean,
okay, so I
obviously
had
Roman
to look this
Yossi.
up.
I was probably a situation where if you have to pick between Philip Forsberg, Roman Yossi, and UC Saros, assuming it's voted across the league, right? I'm sure things probably got split a certain way. That's my thinking.
29 points, 18 goals, and 11 assists in 26 games. He hasn't even been fully healthy this entire year.
That's probably why he's not All-Star.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think he came back from COVID protocol today. You're going to get a kick out of this, not to interrupt our conversation here about the All-Star weekend, but I traded Timo Meier
Ugh.
today, and it was supposed to go through last week. And so the head of our league, apparently you have a tool where you can force the trade to happen immediately.
Right.
Bro, he forced the trade to go through today after Timo Meier scored five goals
Yep.
in that game. He scored 4 goals in 21 minutes.
Yep.
So yeah, I have Philip Forsberg. I don't know. I know they're playing the Blues like as we're recording this, so I don't know if he's doing well, but I hope so. Fingers crossed. Which, by the way, here, get this. I didn't even realize that Eric Johnson was still in the fucking league. Like, that's insane. And he's actually not even that old, but he was.
Yeah, right.
He was, I believe, a first round pick.
His first overall by the Blues.
Yeah, I knew by the Blues. I knew that, but like it's just insane that it's the same Eric Johnson and he's on the fucking ads.
He started with us when he was like 18. So I mean, it makes sense.
It's just crazy. He's still at it. So the trade actually was I got Philip Forsberg and Eric Johnson for Timo Meier. And on a normal scenario where he doesn't light up the fucking lamp this much, I needed the D. I needed the defenseman for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't fret yourself over one game, if I'm being honest. But either way, I think the last one in the Central, kind of a head scratcher too.
Yes,
like
weird.
Why this would be the second person. Cam Talbot. He literally is, as of today, like 3 goals against.
How is it not Kaprizov? What the fuck?
He's on the roster, no? Or did I miss that? Maybe I overstated him. No, he's
on.
Oh,
he is. Yeah, you're right.
I think I skipped over Kaprizov. Apologies. Okay. Yeah. So Kaprizov is on there, and then wrapping it up with goaltending is Talbot. But I'm just kind of like thinking. I guess I'm just thinking in my head like through the teams in the Central. I mean, maybe goaltending isn't that strong, right? I mean, Fleury kind of had a really crap start to the year. Bennington hasn't been that hot. Blue's been riding the hot hands of like Husso and Lindgren and whatnot while he was out on COVID and stuff. Coyotes aren't going to have anybody. Obviously, Nashville has theirs. Stars. I maybe make a case for Jake Ottinger, but again, I think he was kind of splitting time starting off with Hudobin a bit.
Well, and the Wild started off really hot out the gate, so who knows when these votes actually were made?
True.
And they were doing really, really well. And so they got to take 2. They're the only other team other than the Avs in the Central. They got 2 players. So
yeah, right.
But I'm with you. Definitely head scratcher.
Yeah, 100%. And then moving on to the Pacific. I think like I said with you, right? I didn't see a lot of All-Star. I need to go back and listen to that, but like I didn't see a lot of All-Stars coming from Vegas, more than like a couple. And that's exactly what happened here. They got again a little bit odd, especially with the injuries that he's had with Mark Stone. Petro makes sense on the back end with D. Outside of that, I mean, obviously last man in you have Marchessault. Probably going to get voted in being
I would assume so. Because it's already weird that the Knights didn't get 3 or 4 players as it is. I think they're the first team in recent memory that I know San Jose had 4. I remember it was Brent Burns, Eric Carlson, both defensemen made it. I think they had 4. Um, so I was surprised to only see 2 Knights represented. So yeah, I'm with you. I think Marchessault gets voted in. He's also having a hell of a year. He's got, I think it's 19 goals, 20 goals, somewhere in that ballpark, like already halfway through.
I mean, to be fair, the Blues only had 2. They only had Shen and Pietrangelo, I think.
Well, and then they had the third, that like you said, then Perron got voted in as the last man in. So
right.
They got
The
3.
same thing.
That's what I'm assuming.
So yeah, so you got those 2 guys, Stone, Pietrangelo. Then you got the Edmonton stack of rightfully so, Draisaitl, captain of the Pacific team, Connor McDavid. I always thought it was weird how one of the teams the teams that's hosting it,
when their captain doesn't make it.
Why aren't they getting captain in general for the team?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where how do you compete against McJesus? He's of course going to be the captain, but he doesn't need it. He doesn't need to be.
It's fan elected, so I mean I get it. So you have those guys, Seattle, Jordan Eberle. I mean, really, who else do you send from the Kraken? Quite honestly,
it would have been Homeboy, but he got hurt, tore his ACL. He was like the stud. Scary guy, scared face guy.
Tanev?
Yeah, Brandon Tanev.
Yeah, probably
he was having a hell of a year, and I think he was kind of becoming a fan favorite over there. Eberle was just, but why not Giordano? Like, he's the captain of your franchise. I mean, and as we've been talking, we've been noticing a lot of these guys might be in their last year with either their respected teams or the league altogether. So why not send him? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I see it from that perspective too.
Hey, what's up, everyone? We're interrupting the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast to talk about one of our awesome sponsors. Big Balls Kickball is St. Louis's premier adult kickball league, bringing you the best game in town since 2007. Veteran owned and operated, they strive to bring out the kid in everyone, and they let you let loose and make new friends on that field. Big Balls welcomes players from all walks of life, and they pride themselves on being one of the most inclusive leagues out there. If that's not enough, they also offer Big Balls apparel. That's right, they sell clothing, all that stuff, and it's rad. Me and Tommy have some. We've been rocking them. They go back with the retro designs, back to the 90s, back to your childhood, all of that. So be sure to go and check out Big Balls Kickball at www.stlbigballs.com.
Yeah, moving on to there. Actually kind of surprised that it's the 6th. Johnny Gaudreau with his 6th All-Star game. But I guess in my opinion, if there's any Flames fans that are listening to this, apologies.
Say that 3 times fast. Any Flames fans?
Any Flames fans listening right now, like, apologies. I just think Johnny Gaudreau has always been a regular season guy. So maybe it makes sense that he's there.
Should have been Kachuk, in my opinion.
Gaudreau's got at this point 7 more points than Kachuk, same amount of games played. So
and it's his last year, as you said too. Like, we're kind of seeing a reoccurrence here. Like, he's more than likely going to leave or be shipped out if they're not in a playoff position, if he's not going to re-sign with the team. He's in his last year. I know that much. And doing well, but I'm with you. Yeah. This is his 6th overall All-Star appearance. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, to be fair, looking at Calgary's playoff runs, you're not to go to Johnny Gaudreau tangent, but the 2 years he got bounced in the first round, he had no goals. So 9 games in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, kind of was a ghost.
Yeah.
Maybe he changes it. We'll see. But again, not to harp on that too much. Moving on from that, Kings Adrian Kempe got his first pick as an All-Star as well.
I would have picked Iafallo, honestly, because that guy's been having a hell of a year too.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things too where, looking at things, a lot of it just doesn't necessarily add up. I mean, I just don't think point blank how Kopitar isn't in. Like,
True.
It doesn't make sense at all. He's light years above both those guys. Jonathan Quick's having a decent year. It could be his last year in the league potentially. Will you have 1 or 2 more after this? I don't know.
Well, I guess John Gibson got it though, and Thatcher Demko is like one of the only Canucks I could even envision being an All-Star. Honestly, especially this year. So the goalies actually make the most sense to me in the Pacific. Like,
John Gibson, Thatcher Demko. I mean, I know you love Demko.
Yeah.
it's just like that's the thing though, is like just thinking of that too, right? Like JT Miller is putting up a point per game, and then not there. Um, it's just
Troy Terry is a big snub. So is Trevor
yeah.
Zegras.
I mean, Zegras makes sense, but I was more questioned, I think, why he's not on the last man in.
Right, because like that would help grow the sport. Like obviously, all these kids are getting hyped on him and his move that he had. What do they call it? The Dishigan instead of the Michigan or whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly. I mean, again, I just thinking of goaltending too, right? Though outside of like Gibson and Demko, like has goaltending really been that amazing in the Pacific either? Like I feel like it really hasn't. Like Sharks stink, Knights have had their injuries.
Struggled. Yeah. Well, even without injuries, dude. I mean, it's just obvious that Leonard hasn't settled into that number one role yet. Even when he wins a game, it's because the team in front of him is putting the puck in the net like 4+ times in a game. I'm pretty sure his goals against average is pretty up there. So it was one of those things where they were debating sending him and probably wanted to push him forward, because I was personally surprised. You know how that franchise works. They really want people to forget that Marc-Andre Fleury was, Golden Knight, at least for this season or until he retires. So why not push, the panda on everybody? So they probably tried to, but then looking at statistics, they were like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, just looking at paper, like Gibson had a hot start to the year, then had COVID and injuries, right? Demko's been solid. Edmonton has been a question mark. Calgary has been a question mark. San Jose has been a question mark. Like the Kings, between Peterson and Quick, like they've been kind of splitting time. Seattle's not been great. Like it makes sense, but yeah, I mean, I think the Ducks kind of being that kind of small market team, which is weird than being Southern California here.
Is Grubauer the next man in?
That one guy.
Is he the next guess? Or
no,
wait, you can't.
It's Giordano for the next man.
Oh, okay. So you got to think that signing Grubauer then isn't looking that good. If you sign that's your answer to your Marc-Andre Fleury for the new franchise. They're like, oh, we need to have the stud goaltender, and he hasn't been doing too hot. So the fact that he wasn't even a conversation for the All-Star game, that's kind of rough.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But again, I think that's why I'm saying, like, when the rosters are so limited for you on a divisional standpoint, you create these problems. So that's what it is. That's how I see it. So but I think aside from that, Timo Meier of the Sharks, I think after his 5-goal game, granted this was voted well before then,
he was having a hell of a year early, dude. The whole Sharks team, you know how much it pains me to say this, they look so much better without Evander Kane in their locker room. It's like crazy.
Weight lifted off their shoulders almost.
Yeah, like Timo Meier, Logan Couture, Tomas Hertl, who's going to be a pending UFA. It's like he's playing for a contract, so he's playing insane. Couture's finally being the captain that they needed him to be after Pavelski left. It's crazy, it's and they made a change goaltending wise. I was actually going to ask you, who is in goal for the Sharks now? I feel stupid not knowing.
I know it's Dell
because they got rid of Martin Jones.
Yeah, so, Mojo is Nomo. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think it's definitely, or no, it's not Aaron Dell. Sorry, he got traded. It's the Hill guy, right?
Aiden Hill?
I think so.
I mean, if it is, it makes sense.
He might be tandeming. Let me see.
You don't know shit for a hockey podcast. Somebody's listening to this right now. If we have any Sharks fans, they're just yelling right now at
Aiden Hill, James Reimer. So yeah.
Oh, Reimer. Okay, so yeah,
it's pretty much been a split. It looks like through the whole year. It's kind of been a tandem between the two. So
and Reimer came from the Hurricanes, right? Like he
correct. was. Reimer came from the Hurricanes. Aiden Hill came from the Coyotes. Did they switch? Was it Dell who went to the Coyotes?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And didn't wait? Hold on. Blues legend Carter Hutton is playing for the Coyotes this year too, right? No, Buffalo.
Yeah, sorry. No, Aaron Dell went to the Sabres. I missed something.
Jesus. Well, okay, it's not our fault that they're continuing the year of goalie musical chairs. It seems like they started that right before the pandemic, and it was like when the bubble happened, it was like, who the fuck is on each team? Like I had no idea, like these goalies that were playing for people. So that's fair. So to confirm, who the fuck is in net for San Jose?
Yeah, so Aiden Hill, James Reimer, it's pretty much been a tandem
50-50.
split.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so there's no question marks there, and I feel like the Pacific makes the most sense in my opinion. Like you got Draisaitl, Gaudreau, Gibson. There's a few snubs there for sure, but overall, if you're looking at the snubs, I think that it makes the most sense that the Atlantic, I guess, like not having Marchand present, only one Bruin going, yeah, and only one Leaf going. No, okay, Campbell. But see, that's a weird toss up, right? Because like you could have easily sent Marner. Like it feel like sending Marner as well with Matthews would have made sense as well.
Right, agreed. 100%.
Or Nylander. Nylander is like fucking having one hell of a year as well. So overall, I think it's a pretty good All-Star game. I know some people were out there complaining, saying that this is kind of one of the weaker years, but we should be thankful we're even having one. We didn't have one last year. Life is getting kind of back to normal. Between this, the Pro Bowl, and the Super Bowl, I think that's going to be a very monumental thing for sports and our economy and humanity as a whole.
No shit.
If that Super Bowl actually goes down in LA, I feel like that's going to open a lot of doors for possible growth and when it comes to these events. Speaking of which, is it true? Did you see that online that people were saying that they were allowing fans in the Oilers games, but you couldn't eat or drink or like stand up and cheer?
Probably.
Did you see that?
I read something about it. I didn't go farther.
I didn't research it either, but somebody was tweeting that like, wow, this would be a shitty game to not be able to drink at because the Oilers lost yet again, which is a good leeway. I feel like we should talk about that too before we kind of get into questions and wrap up this episode. McDavid, Draisaitl, what are the odds that one of them are not in an Edmonton Oilers jersey next year? Is there any odds, or are they going to hold on to both of them?
I don't see how you break that up.
Right. But I mean, all these speculations are going on the internet. You're seeing this like all, these images are.
How are you going to consider breaking that up if they're looking at bringing in fucking Vander Kane?
Yeah.
No, there's no way. They're going to go all in these next couple of years. They're both on a contract for the next after the season. I think 3 years both, and then Draisaitl I think becomes a UFA the year before McDavid. No.
So they're going to try to build off it, go all in, and if they make any sort of change, you think it might be in the front office, like maybe with the coaching staff? I mean, they gotta do something because they're going to lose these superstars and they're wasting the prime of their careers.
They got 3 years to figure it out, right? They're getting paid well to quote unquote suffer.
Yeah, I'll figure it out right now. Your goaltending is a problem. We've been talking about this from the fucking beginning. Mike Smith, even when healthy, is not a good number one option. It's mind blowing that they think that that's the case. And I mean, bringing in Fleury would only help them if they did it now. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, the Hawks are probably in just as much of a bind as far as being in a playoff position as the Oilers.
Yep.
Whether or not they're going to make the postseason. Interesting. Yeah. I just been seeing all the hype online saying, "Oh, McDavid, what are these possible trades?" I mean, I'm with you. I don't see him going anywhere either. Because if you get rid of Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl or a combination of the two, you better be getting like 20 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Like, you better be getting an arm and a leg from a team and basically starting over, rebuilding it completely all over again.
Well, I mean, to be fair, when Gretzky got traded, nobody didn't get that much, right?
Yeah. Didn't they get cash for that trade though? That was like back then where you could like physically get money from teams.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think it was I want to look that up because it was a really goofy ass trade. I know there was a lot of pieces, and there was money involved. Gretzky trade offer. Let's see what this was. Okay, so on August 9th, 1988, the Edmonton Oilers traded Wayne Gretzky to the Los Angeles Kings, but became very close to trading him to the Canucks. So, what was Gretzky traded for? Why are people not why are you not giving me the news that I need? Come on, guys. They sent Gretzky.
So Gretzky,
Marty
McSorley, Mike Kruslinski, got 3 first-round picks.
Yeah.
What
15.
Martin Yelenas, I named he did something. Jimmy Carson, I'm not sure, but they got 15 million in cash. That's
So 3 first-round picks, 15 million in cash is pretty damn good. And I mean,
especially back then.
if you're going to push that, I mean, I don't know that you can include cash in a trade today, and why that would even benefit a team because we have the salary cap and that doesn't really matter. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the NHL All-Star game. I got my tickets. Like I said, I wasn't able to attend both of the events back in 2019 in St. Louis, so I'm excited to do that. Aside from that, how you been? I feel like it's been, we had Christmas, we had the New Year's. You've been bouncing back and forth. What's been up?
Yeah, I mean, working, fucking, yeah, bouncing back and forth, getting some investment stuff on the side, taking care of, adulting pretty much exactly. It's been a lot. I mean, even as the year, like I had like a week and a half off from work pay, even during the holidays, like it just seemed like it was never ending.
Dude, I got to tell you about what happened to me last night. So I went to go see the Scream movie.
Yeah,
and
I might go see that tonight.
It's fun. It's worth watching. It's not anything amazing, but it was fun. Okay. We went and saw that. We have like the unlimited movie pass, so we went with some friends, and I was picking up an Annie Ann's pretzel because it's a god tier food, and you're able to bring that in because it's like in this food court for Red Rock Casino. So
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I picked it up, and I'm a part of. I eat so much goddamn Annie Ann's that I'm in like the club where I can collect the points. It's not a good thing. I need to cut out the Annie Ann's because it's just deep fried bread and butter. But man, it's amazing. And you scan the receipt, and it goes in your points, so you can collect more and then get like free pretzels and free shit.
Right.
My wallet was stolen within a matter of seconds of setting it on the counter, picking up my phone and holding the receipt. So somebody swiped my fucking wallet instantly in front of me. Like I noticed right away.
That's brutal.
So this morning I gave up on it. I was like, fuck, I'm Googling how do I get a new Nevada license? And on top of that, we had our fucking vaccine cards in there. So it's like, those are a pain in the ass to try to replace.
I mean, do you have pictures of them?
We have those.
Yeah,
we have,
fine.
But it's things that like, I didn't have fucking cash in there. Like I had nothing. I had some gift cards and, it's more of a pain in the ass than anything. Yeah. But I woke up this morning and I called Red Rock and they were like, oh yeah, it's here. I'm like, okay, well, a phone call would have been great. I'm freaking out here thinking about canceling my shit, or I have all my cards locked, trying to figure it out. I go in there and I'm like, can you guys give me any sort of story? Like what happened? And they're like, yes. So your wallet was stolen and it was dumped outside the East Valet parking lot. So someone swiped my wallet,
tried to get cash or whatever.
And there was no cash in there, and then just chucked it. And luckily enough, they didn't, thank God, take any of my cards. Everything was in there. So I got lucky that I'm a broke bum, basically, is how that all panned out.
I got a funnier story that involved more money in Vegas too. When was this? Like 3-4 years ago? I checked in at Aria. I guess between check-in and whatever, my wallet went missing. I had like, keep in mind, I said this specifically, I had like $1,020 in there. Like a lot of money. And I'm like,
right,
I don't have my fucking wallet. Like I can't do anything. Like I brought my passport. So I want to go like get money out from like go Uber to a bank or something and like come back. Like I have my passport or whatever. Like it's fine. Just that's not money to sneeze at. Like it sucks. So literally like 2 years go by.
What?
And I'm just like, at this point, I don't even think I've never thought about it since like a week after it happened. And it's funny because it's literally like it was the Pulp Fiction wallet. People are like, can you describe my wallet? I'm like, yeah, it's one that says bad motherfucker on it. Like it's just funny and like people laughing because like, oh, I know what that's from. 2 years go by. I'm just like, I don't, whatever. Like it is what it is. It's lost. Someone took it. Whatever. I got like a random phone call from like Aria Security, like, please call us back if we have something of yours. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, this is my wallet. So I call them back. They're like, yeah, what's your name? Can you describe the wallet? I'm like, yeah, the wallet says bad motherfucker on it, like on the phone. And they're like, yeah, we have it. We have all your money. We have your ID. And I'm like,
oh my God.
I'm like, A, can you explain like where it was? B, like, is everything in there? Like, and no, you're sure nothing's taken. Can you explain what's in there? I'll reconfirm what I know at least. They're like, yeah, everything's in there, what they said.
Whoa.
And like, see, like, where the hell was it? They said, I guess between like the slots and like the front desk, I guess apparently it was there. I must have dropped it. But someone from Aria picked it up, and they legally couldn't just like take the money and give it away because it was over like $1,000. Like, it was 1,000 exactly or below. Like, after a certain period, they can like do whatever they want with it. Because it was slightly over, they had to hold on to it indefinitely.
Yeah, but why did it take him 2 years to call you?
So you know how my name's weird, right? Like, my first name is like Thomas James. So they're looking everything up. Thomas James. Nothing's coming up anywhere. We can't find anybody. They're like, yeah, I'm this new head of security. We were going through everything. I just typed in Thomas instead of Thomas James, and boom, I have your contact info.
Oh my God. Wow.
So literally, I had fucking random like $1,000 regained like fucking years later.
It's an investment. Look at that. It was,
yes.
Wow, that's nuts. Well, now I don't feel as bad about my.
Yeah,
dude.
So
holy shit,
bonkers. Not to get off topic, but yeah.
Well, I mean, look at it this way: you could have had that $1,000 and lost it in like.
That's what I was saying. Maybe it saved me from losing the money. Who knows, right?
Wow. All right. I got to interrupt the podcast to talk about another one of our amazing sponsors. That's right. Black Heart Inc. is not only a tattoo brand, but a culture in itself. Established since 2021, right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, Black Heart provides the highest in quality and luxury in custom body art. Black Heart Inc. is a tattoo shop like no other around the Las Vegas area. And ever since I moved here, I've been searching around. So trust me, there's some quality work going out of this shop, providing acceptance of all walks of life through the art, the communication of the image that displays or conveys a statement. It can be very powerful. Through art and tattoos, Black Heart Inc. will continue to defy the status quo, not just now, but for years to come. Make sure you check them out at www.blackheartinc702.com. If you mention the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast, you can get $60 Halloween flash tattoos. That's right, $60 gets you a creepy new tattoo this October. They can do same-day appointments, local and group discounts. They make sure they honor the military. And if you go in and you mention the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast and that you're a VGK fan, they will do a $100 flash tattoo of a Vegas Golden Knights logo. That's right, a $100 flash tattoo of a Vegas Golden Knights logo. I got one myself on my arm. So make sure you guys check it out, www.blackheartinc702.com. All right, so let's do some questions before we wrap up here. First question is going to be from an Alex Miller. He wants to know, if Vegas doesn't win a cup in the next 3 years, what happens to the team? Will they go through a rebuild? It's very obvious that they would. The window is about 3 years. You have aging guys that are not getting any younger. I mean, they're still playing amazing hockey. I mean, Alex Pietrangelo is still a stud. Mark Stone really hasn't hit his stride. Max Pacioretty is still having career years, even though he's getting injured. But that's the question mark. They're getting hurt. So these guys are older, and when they're withstanding these injuries, they may not come back the same guy as when they left. And I think that was a concern with Jack Eichel as well, as you're kind of getting these dudes that have been beat up and have been through a lot and really haven't won it all. I believe Alex Pietrangelo was the only guy now on the roster that has actually raised the cup. Obviously, Fleury before. Yeah, I mean, they'll go through a rebuild, and it'll be pretty brutal because they're not going to have very many first-round picks because they're contending. So they'll have first-round picks, but nothing top 10.
Yeah, right.
They'll continue to do really well, but not, well enough to win the cup and not shitty enough to get a decent pick. I will add this before you chime in with your opinion. So I guess the short answer is yes, they will go through a rebuild real quick. The window is definitely these three, maybe 4 years. I would say I wouldn't go past that. I will highlight it with Brendan Bryson is pretty insane. He just got picked up for Team USA. I think it's he's a USA guy. He got picked up for the Olympics for Team USA. Dude's an absolute stud. I'm sure you guys have seen his highlights. He's been actually talked about more so than these guys that are talking about being drafted, much earlier. What was his name? Owen Power? Is it Powell or Power?
Power, yeah.
I swear I haven't even heard shit about him. I know he was first overall. And yeah, this guy went distant. It was like 31st overall in 2020, picked up by Team USA for the Olympics. Just been lighting it up. That's something to be excited about. If as long as they don't trade him away for somebody else, I think
No kidding.
every Golden Knights fan is fingers crossed with him. But yes, the short answer is obviously if they don't bring a cup home within the next 3 years, it's going to be pretty dark for a while.
Yeah, I think so. I don't disagree with that. That's why you play the games, though, right? You never know. Yeah, I guess next question from there. What do you got?
Stosh Bramer wants to know, do you think the taxi squad will remain intact after All-Star break for the rest of the season and or playoffs? And then he added, who do you think will be the next gem of a meme like Marchand crying? So that's a 2-point. I'll let you answer this one.
Jesus Christ. The second one's tough because you don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like
you have no idea.
I mean, I guess to answer that part, I guess from a local standpoint or Blues standpoint, maybe Bunting of the Leafs going by chirping the Blues and then just getting absolutely just fucking ass handed to him by Krug as he's chirping while going by, which I think it was like right after he got like unsportsmanlike too, which that was
He had to have said something fucking brutal because Krug just went full Bruins mode on him.
Yeah, 100%. So there's that. I mean, outside of that,
the taxi squad, do we think it's going to remain intact? They seem to say no, like they're going to pull the plug on it, but it seems like a smart move to do if COVID is still very much a thing in our scenario.
I don't know. I don't know how you don't keep it. Like it's just the thing where everyone's still getting COVID in the league. Like if the Blues, for example, wouldn't have had taxi squad, they would have had to play shorthanded again for another like night or two. Again, forcing people to play with injuries they probably shouldn't have, and go into that whole debacle again if we needed to. But it's just like it doesn't make sense. Like keep it. Like it isn't going anywhere unless you're going to fix testing standards. That's the only way you take it away. Like cut and dry. There's no point.
If you're not changing it, if you're not changing, not testing asymptomatic players, you got to keep something. This whole salary cap scenario is going to be wild, and we're going to see a lot of crazy scenarios with that just because guys can get sick. I know they already shortened it to 5 days instead of 10.
But you need 5 days in a negative test, which doesn't happen.
Right. Yeah. I've noticed that like some of these guys have stayed out longer, like Philip Forsberg, who just scored, by the way.
I was gonna note that too.
Helped in my fantasy and doesn't help your scenario. But yeah. He hadn't played since January 6th. Yeah. So there's a little bit of a gap between, whether you're asymptomatic or even have negative tests. I'm with you, man. It makes no sense. They got to do what they got to do to finish the year. And they're about to do a bunch of shitload of back-to-backs and running these guys ragged and actually like condensing games is just not going to be – it's not going to help. Never ending.
Wear more people down. It's going to cause potentially more injuries. It's going to be a lot of not good out of it. I agree.
And I want to add, I think the next gem of a meme is definitely going to come from Evander Kane, because if he does wind up playing – in the NHL this year, the first time he gets rocked or like does something completely stupid, which let's just cut it how it is. He's going to be rusty. I mean, like the dude was refusing to show up to practice in the AHL, doing sketchy shit like crossing the border and going and hanging out with family and stuff when he was supposed to be quarantining. The dude's head's not where it needs to be. He's not getting the help he needs. So the minute that he steps out on the ice and someone just levels him, whether it be a Tom Wilson or even just anybody, or when he plays his own team, like the Sharks or something,
right?
There's going to be a meme there for sure, 100%.
I can see it.
And we'll wrap this up with the last question. Sam Crafton wants to know Chris Pronger retirement. We obviously talked about that early on. He wants to know what our favorite memories are of Chris Pronger. I'll go ahead and start. Wasn't it an All-Star game when he checked Bieber into the boards? Was that an All-Star scenario?
Yeah, it was like a celebrity type thing. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's hard not. That photo is just money. It's beautiful.
Yeah, agreed. I think most iconic for me, granted I was like young and like it didn't mean much at the time, but like looking back on, I guess super fucking cool, was when he won the Hart Norris in the same year, and he's like up there in his like tuxedo holding both. He's the only other guy to do that as a defenseman, I think, besides Bobby Orr.
I used to have that card. I had that hockey card that was just like, I think it was Upper Deck, And it was just like him in the tuxedo with whole. Yeah, I remember that exactly.
I mean, outside of that, I mean, not a specific moment, but just like I think he did it perfectly, where he'd like Blues would be on say like a penalty kill or something, and he'd just be like standing in front of the net, like looking at the ref. Ref looks away, does like a two-hander to the back of the guy's calf, and like the guy falls, and the ref looks back, and he's like, I don't know how you got there. I didn't see anything, so I wasn't looking at the front of the net. Sort of stuff like that, like tough. What's the word? Like an era of defensemen that will no longer exist. I think he was, one of the last ones to really play. I guess to a lesser extent, maybe like Radko Gudas is maybe still carrying the torch a little bit, but yeah, definitely missed in the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, hell of a stud. Obviously, we talked about that early on. Holy shit! I just checked in on this Rams Cardinals game. Looks like LA is up 2 touchdowns. That's going to be what I watch after we end this episode. But
Fair.
We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. Sorry about this little break. We're going to be at it a little bit more. We're really excited to include some new sponsors that we've been negotiating, which is hopefully going to be included in this episode. And obviously you can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I'll do that thing where I put them below, or if I'm lazy, I might not, but it might be below us at this point. And so fourthlinegoon.com, and I mean, that's about all I got. You got anything else you want to conclude on?
No, I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and cheers.
Later, guys.